You're watching Dante's Boxing Nation. Woo!
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? And good morning. I just woke up right now and just seen the headline, breaking news. Manny Pacquiao has finally announced his next opponent, and it is no other than Tim the Desert Storm Bradley. The rubber match is on. First things first, I want to say congratulations to Tim Bradley for getting his third opportunity to redeem himself. I'm telling you right now, Manny Pacquiao picking Tim Bradley, I'm not saying it is going to be, but it could possibly be a bad case of karma. You guys have to remember, there was a time following the first Pacquiao-Bradley fight, Floyd Mayweather reached out to Manny Pacquiao, tried to make a fight. Now, this was all documented and released to the public. Top Rank sent out an open letter basically saying, at this time, we're not interested in the Mayweather fight. We're going a different direction. And what did they do? They decided to fight against Juan Manuel Marquez a fourth time. Okay? Instead of Manny Pacquiao avenging his loss to Tim Bradley and getting his belt back that Tim Bradley had just took, they decided to bypass Tim Bradley and Floyd Mayweather and fight Juan Manuel Marquez for a fourth time. And that turned out to be Manny Pacquiao's and Team Pacquiao's worst decision that they had ever made. Could this be another case of karma when it comes to choosing Tim Bradley and thinking that Tim Bradley is the safest pick? We're going to find out. We are going to find out. Now, Tim Bradley is with Teddy Atlas, and he looked real good against Brandon Rios. You know, Brandon Rios is my dude, man. Real cool guy. You guys seen him in my new intro. Real cool cat. But with that being said, you know, I'm not going to sit here and make excuses for why Brandon Rios lost that fight and why he got stopped in the Tim Bradley fight. Brandon Rios himself, he said it. He said, man, he caught me with a good-ass body shot, a real good body shot, okay? This is just a simple case of Tim Bradley doing his work, looking real good in the ring. You know, Brandon Rios was never a great defensive fighter. He was always a good aggressive fighter that can walk you down, right? But Tim Bradley, he has a great combination. He's an aggressive fighter, but at the same time, he knows how to box. He has defense, okay? So with that being said, that was a great win for Tim Bradley. Before that, the Jesse Vargas win, that was a great win for Tim Bradley. Now let me talk about the boxing fans' perspective when it comes to this breaking news. Now, for a lot of fans, Tim Bradley would not have been the first choice. Hell, he might not have even been the second choice if it was up to the fans picking. But no matter what we think about this fight, there's no doubt about it, Tim Bradley does deserve the shot. There's no doubt about that. Now, when it comes to Manny Pacquiao choosing this opponent, I'm not going to talk bad about Manny Pacquiao for who he chooses. Because at the end of the day, no matter who Manny Pacquiao would have chose to be his next opponent, how Manny Pacquiao wants to be remembered, that is totally up to him. Totally up to him. I mean, if you really think about it, this fight puts Manny Pacquiao almost in a lose-lose situation. It puts Tim Bradley in a lose-win situation. I mean, you can even argue that this is a win-win situation for Tim Bradley. There's much more at stake for Manny Pacquiao than it is for Tim Bradley in this rubber match. You guys have to understand something. This fight can completely change the history books in boxing depending on who wins the fight. Think about it for a second. No matter what you guys want to say about the first fight, Tim Bradley won the first fight. Manny Pacquiao won the second fight. Okay? That is already in the history books. If Tim Bradley were to win this third fight, that would solidify he beat Manny Pacquiao 2 out of 3. Not only that, but it would make his first win look even better if he beat Manny Pacquiao a third time. Okay? On top of that, you also have to take into consideration, or you have to look at the fact that Tim Bradley, while Manny Pacquiao struggled against Marquez 4 times, and in the 4th time he got knocked out, Tim Bradley, it only took him 1 try to get in the ring with Marquez, and it was right after Marquez had the biggest win of his career. Tim Bradley goes in there and he beats Marquez decisively in 1 try. So I'm just saying, if you look at Tim Bradley's accomplishments, you go back to the 140-pound division where he unified all of the belts. He fought all of the best prime champions. He fought multiple undefeated champions and beat them, right? And I'm not going to mention all of his opponents' names. You guys can go to boxrec.com and look at Tim Bradley's record. But anyway, then he moves up to welterweight. And let's just fast forward to Manny Pacquiao. He beats, pound for pound, top 2, top 3, one of the best fighters in the world, Manny Pacquiao. Regardless of what you guys think about the decision, he beat him. Let me just jump into this first Pacquiao-Bradley fight for a second before I go any further. Listen, if you go and you watch that fight, for the people who saying there's no way Bradley won and et cetera, I want to first say the referee who refereed the fight, who has no type of personal agenda, he said after the fight was extremely close. Okay? This is the referee saying that, number 1. Coincidentally, the judges, they obviously agreed with the referee, because I believe one judge had it for Pacquiao and the other judges, they had it for Tim Bradley. And it was a close decision win for Tim Bradley. Now, what I want you guys to do, if you really want to find out the truth, go back and watch that fight. Don't listen to the ridiculous commentary, especially not Jim Lampley's bias-ass commentary. This is all I'm asking you. Watch the first 4 rounds. Watch the first 4 rounds and then watch the last 3 rounds. First off, let's just start with the last 3 rounds. There's no way you can tell me that Manny Pacquiao won the last 3 rounds. There is no way you can tell me that. You go back to the first 3 rounds, Manny Pacquiao isn't doing anything for the first 2 minutes and 30 seconds of the round. He doesn't do anything. Tim Bradley is doing everything. And then in the last 30 seconds, Pacquiao throws about 2 or 3 left hands, and about 2 out of 3 of those left hands land. Okay? And a lot of times they don't even land flush. But anyway, that's what he did in the first 3 rounds. You know, it's crazy because in the 4th round, that's the round that Manny Pacquiao, he staggered Tim Bradley, and that's when Tim Bradley, he sprained his ankle. You could clearly see it in the replay. Now, what's so crazy about that round is I always thought just because Tim Bradley got staggered, got caught with a good shot, that round automatically goes to Manny Pacquiao. But if you go back and you revisit that round, you'll notice that Tim Bradley was winning the whole round before he got staggered. And then after he gets staggered, Manny Pacquiao gets extremely reckless like he did in the 4th Marquez fight. And Manny Pacquiao is leaving himself open, and Tim Bradley is constantly catching Pacquiao with right hands, left hooks. He's basically closing out the round stronger than Manny Pacquiao did. it was interesting because you remember when they had that comical WBC or WBO judges, they rescored the fight, and they all of course had Manny Pacquiao winning the fight. But what was interesting is how I'm telling you, I always thought this fourth round was definitely Manny Pacquiao's round. Now, when I scored the fight, I had Tim Bradley winning the first 3 rounds, and I had him winning the last 3 rounds, and then there was some swing rounds in between. But before I had never gave him the 4th round. But what was crazy is some of the WBO judges who scored the fight later after the fact, which makes the judging very questionable, unconventional, and highly unreliable. But anyway, I digress. Out of the 5 WBO judges that scored this fight on another day, some of those judges actually gave round 4 to Tim Bradley. Isn't that kind of strange? One of the rounds that some of us thought Manny Pacquiao did his best work in, a couple of these judges actually gave round 4 to Tim Bradley. So the point that I'm making is this fight, once again, was very, very close. Very close. Okay? I don't argue with anyone who says Manny Pacquiao wins. But it's only because of the world that we live in with the double standards that fans would jump up and down saying this was the worst robbery, ever. But then these are the same fans that will turn around and say Lara wasn't robbed against Canelo. Nicholas Walters, he wasn't robbed. He just needed to do more when he fought against Jason Sosa, and so on and so forth. You know what's so crazy? Have you guys noticed there has never been a fight, at least not in the last 10 years. I can't think of one single fight where a fighter on the coincidental list was really actually robbed, and he was fighting against a fighter who wasn't on the coincidental list, and there was an outrage. There was people going crazy. This was a robbery, and that guy on the coincidental list was robbed, etc., etc. You notice there hasn't been one single fight like that? Every single time a fighter on the coincidental list is robbed, the same fans that jumped to Manny Pacquiao's defense, they say that wasn't no robbery. Edeslani Lara was just running, that's all. It wasn't no robbery. Nicholas Walters, oh, come on, man. He's in denial. He needed to do more. Like Jim Lampley said, that's what he gets. Jim Lampley said, that's what Nicholas Walters gets for moving up in weight. He said if that's what the judges decided, then it's already on his record. This is what those fans say when the fighter on the coincidental list is robbed. Never do they come to his defense. Never. Only time they come to a fighter's defense if he's on a coincidental list is if he's fighting against another fighter on the coincidental list. Case in point, Edeslani Lara versus Paul Williams. See, they'll tell you that was a robbery because that is the lesser of two evils. You feel me? But they'll never tell you that Nicholas Walters or, Edeslani Lara was a robbery. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, you do have, a small percentage of people, and since I put it out there like that, of course there's going to be some people in the comment section that they're going to be like, hey, you're wrong, man. I thought Lara won. Hey, I thought Nicholas Walters won. But we're talking about the vast majority, not just the sprinkle of fans. Okay? But anyway, going back to this rubber match, Pacquiao versus Bradley. Like I said, man, this situation, it really does nothing for Manny Pacquiao. It's really just, for Manny Pacquiao, it really just looks like a stay busy, collect another check, pass, go type of fight. However, there are a couple things that does make this fight intriguing. You have Tim Bradley, who would seem to have the momentum right now. Manny Pacquiao just came off of the biggest loss of his career. The most important fight of his career, he lost. Okay? We don't know how much that affects Manny Pacquiao psychologically. When it comes to Tim Bradley, like I said, he has momentum. He has a new trainer, Teddy Atlas. He just came off of 2 impressive wins. Beat an undefeated fighter, Jesse Vargas, a young lion. Okay? Then he knocked out a very durable, aggressive Brandon Rios. So the momentum is definitely in Tim Bradley's favor. That doesn't secure a win for Tim Bradley, but that makes the fight a lot more interesting. I'll close out with talking about Adrian Broner and Bob Arum. You know, I think it's pretty interesting how there was talks. Michael Kontz, which is Manny Pacquiao's advisor, if it was up to Michael Kontz and probably Manny Pacquiao, they actually wanted to fight Adrian Broner, which I think just for the name's sake, that fight would have been bigger. And not only that, because it's a new face. We get to see Pacquiao in there with a new face, right? Michael Kontz, Al Heyman, and Manny Pacquiao, Adrian Broner, they were all on board. According to the reports, there was only one person that wasn't on board, and that was Bob Arum. You know, we need to stop with these ridiculous racial double standards when it comes to some of you guys talking about how much you hate Al Heyman and he's trying to ruin the sport and et cetera, et cetera. But then when you have someone like Bob Arum who stands in between a very good fight getting made, matter of fact, where even Manny Pacquiao's own advisor, would advise that Manny Pacquiao takes this fight, the one guy who got in the way was Bob Arum. So, for you guys to try to attack Al Heyman because he's on the coincidental list is fucking ridiculous and highly offensive to everyone, if you know what I mean, that is on the coincidental list. We need to stop looking at race and we need to just be boxing fans, okay? You create this distraction and we can't even focus on the actual sport that we all love. Let's treat all these fighters, promoters, trainers the same way. And maybe it's just wishful thinking, but I'm still going to throw it out there. Bob Arum has said all type of janky things before, okay? He said that fans are like rocks. You can kick them in any direction. He admitted to not making fights that we wanted to see just to protect his own fighter, like Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. He admitted to keeping Chavez Jr. away from Sergio Martinez for 2 years when Chavez had already had 40-plus fights and was always the much bigger fighter over Sergio Martinez. Okay? I'm just giving you a little taste of things that Bob Arum said. And in return, never did I say anything personal about Bob Arum. I never started attacking him personally and saying he's a piece of shit and I hate him. And I never started saying, I ain't gonna never go to another, Bob Arum top-ranked card or support it. I've never done that before. Because there is a responsibility that comes with being a reporter, and there's also a responsibility with being a boxing fan. It's called the consistency responsibility, right? That's just simply, if you're not consistent with your argument, you make yourself look like a damn fool and a hypocrite at the end of the day. There are reporters out there that have been around for a long time. The reporters and writers that are supposed to be responsible, but these guys are extremely irresponsible. And what I just told you I would never do as a reporter, these hypocritical ass reporters, they do just that. They sit over here and one guy, I'm not going to mention his name, but he said it right in front of Fred Hawthorne from Barbershop Conversations at one of the fights that Fred was at. Fred did a video about it. He called Al Heyman a piece of shit for no reason at all, right? And Fred said, hey man, let me interview you. Can I interview you? We can talk about it? He's like, no, I don't want to talk about it, right? This same reporter has admitted that PBC, they've actually reached out to him. And he went on his social media sites and put, yeah, they tried to reach out to me. I put that message in my spam. You know, like proud to show his personal hate and disdain for this man. I mean, just imagine if I said something like that about Bob or Oscar, right? Imagine if after I heard Bob Arum was basically protecting fighters like Chavez Jr. from Sergio Martinez, or if I heard that we're not going to get to see Pacquiao Broner because of Bob Arum, or if I heard from Freddie Roach, which I actually did because I have the interview, where Freddie Roach actually said about a couple years back, I believe that Bob Arum, he's the reason why we haven't got to see the Mayweather versus Pacquiao fight. I believe that Bob Arum, he wants to make that Pacquiao's last fight. This is what Freddie Roach said, guys. And look at how it turned out. Pacquiao's fight against Mayweather turned out to be his second to last fight, and it turned out to be Floyd Mayweather's last fight. So what Freddie Roach basically said damn near came to fruition. So what I'm saying is, imagine if I heard all of that information, which are things that are facts. I'm not just making shit up because I don't like the guy. Even if all of that shit were factual, and I sat here and I said, oh, this man is a piece of shit, and I ain't gonna never support his company anymore, and blah, blah this, and blah, blah that, right? And you know what? Do you know Top Rank, they tried to reach out to me, and I decided to put their information in spam. Can you imagine if I did something like that? If I said something like that? You know how that would look with me being on the coincidental list? Food for thought, right? So this reporter that I'm talking about is completely out of line. You see, that's going way deeper than boxing, okay? That's going way deeper than boxing. And that's why I'm telling you, you have these people who call themselves reporters, but they're not real reporters. Because your personal emotions is not supposed to cloud your vision. It's not supposed to interfere with the job that you do. In most jobs, if your emotions gets the best of you and it affects the way you perform and you can't overcome this, you're usually forced to resign. Just think about that. I'm on to the next one.